Hey everybody, this is just a quick lesson on measuring reflex angles. But before I start, I just wanted to put in a quick little side note. When I'm thinking about angles and going beyond 180 degrees, I think about a compass rose. And as some of you might know, a compass rose is the symbol that you will find on almost all navigational maps. They help determine which way the map is facing. And the compass rose or the map will almost always be facing north, so that you can use your compass if you're not using a GPS, which most of us use nowadays. But back in the day, and sometimes people with hiking, used to use an item called a compass. And a compass uses the Earth's gravitational pull to direct the needle always to the north. So to show you is on my compass, and I'll see if I can get it a little bit closer here, you will notice that there are numbers. And it starts with north here. That's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, all the way up to 160. Then 20 more would be 180. That's kind of interesting. If I have north to south is 180. That's kind of like a straight angle. In fact, it is a straight angle. North to south is 180 degrees. East, if you look here, is actually 90 degrees. But you'll also notice that it doesn't just go north to south, it continues on. It goes to southwest, west, and northwest, all the way back up to 360 degrees. So, this is why we have something called a reflex angle, because we've learned acute, obtuse, right, and straight angles, except now we are looking at what happens when angles go beyond what our protractor can measure, because our protractors are only 180 degrees, or up to 180 degrees. And I'm going to show you guys that today. So here's just the compass rose as a benchmark. You can look at it. North is always 0 degrees. East is always 90 degrees. South is always 180 degrees. West is always 270 degrees. And then, of course, going all the way back around the circle is 360 degrees back up to north. So that's a little bit of a benchmark tool to help you look at all the different angles. So if I was drawing an angle to, let's say, southeast, I would go through my vertex in the middle here, north, then out southeast, and I would measure that as an obtuse angle. However, if I were going north to southwest, I'd go north and then back around, and I would measure that now as a reflex angle. A couple of years ago, I did something called an adventure race, and it was called the Swamp Donkey. And the Swamp Donkey was a race that consisted of hiking, biking, and canoeing, and some jogging. And it was 9 hours long, and we had to find a way to navigate through the bush without using GPS. And so I had to actually rely heavily on using angles and my compass, and then plotting coordinates on a map to find all the different checkpoints. It was actually one of the coolest experiences I've ever had in my life, because I was relying on mapping skills to find my way, and it was actually incredibly accurate. I remember one time when we were literally in the middle of the bush, I thought I was lost, and we were checking the map, but we just stayed consistent with our bearings, and we kept moving forward in a straight line, and we were within 10 feet of the checkpoint that we were trying to find after trudging through the bush for about 2 kilometers, dense bush, and we were able to find this checkpoint just by staying on the bearing and using our compass and degrees. So just a kind of a cool little side point that this is how people used to navigate, and actually still do for the most part, in locations where GPS isn't as readily available. Okay, measuring reflex angles. So what I want you to do is I just want you to draw a typical angle, and we're going to use, we're going to start vertical so we can relay back to our compass rose. So just use a ruler, and I just want you to draw a vertical line. And that vertical line is going to be technically our north, our 0 degree line. So take a look back at the compass rose, 0 degrees. All right. Now, I am going to draw, and this is going to be my vertex point here, so I'm going to end this angle here. I'm going to draw out pretty much directly west. So, although this might look like a right angle, it is in fact not a right angle. Because if I'm looking at my compass rose, it goes all the way around over to west, which if I measured this accurately or drew it accurately, it would be 270 degrees. Now, to show that it is not a right angle would have a little square in the corner here. It actually has a semicircle around the outside of the angle. And that is how I identify it. If it goes all the way around past a straight angle, that's how I identify it as a reflex angle. Now, there are two different ways that you can measure a reflex angle once it is drawn. Probably the easiest way is to just take your measurement and, wow, I did pretty good. That's pretty much a 90-degree angle. Just freehanding it, I'm surprised. So 90 degrees on the inside. You'll notice that I measured the inside of this angle, and I measured it at 90 degrees. I am not trying to find that measurement. I am trying to find this measurement, the inside of this measurement. How can I do that? Well, going back to our compass rose, you'll notice that as you go around the entire circle, the total is out of 360 degrees. So what I actually have to do is find the difference between what I measured, I don't want this inside measurement here, what I measured here. I have to find the difference between what I measured and that 360 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 360 degrees that I know is the total for all angles. It's not 180, it's 360. I'm going to subtract to find the difference. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 9 I can't do, so I have to borrow. 16 minus 9 is 70. And then I have my 2 bring down, I have 270 degrees. So I know now that this reflex angle actually measures, and I'm going to fill it in my little circle here, 270 degrees. And looking at my compass rose, my west measurement is in fact 270 degrees. If you look at that, I measured all of these angles inside the circle to create a total of 270 degrees, which leaves over 90 degrees here. Okay, so let's try one more. I'm going to draw north again. Just a vertical line, and this time I'm going to just freehand it. I'm going to put my vertex, which is my point at which two lines intersect, and I'm just going to go out this way. I'm going to indicate that this is a reflex angle by drawing my semicircle. And now I'm trying to find the measurement of this angle here, on the inside here. Not here. But in order to do so with a protractor, which only measures to 180, I have to find the difference. So I'm actually going to measure this. So I'm going to classify this angle as an obtuse angle, and I'm going to find that measurement, then subtract it from 360 degrees. So lining it up on the vertex, we've practiced a lot of measuring, and following the ray out. Now it's an obtuse. I'm not going to use the 50. I'm going to use the 130 because I know it's an obtuse angle. So this measurement here is 130 degrees. Now I know it's out of a total of 360, so now I can find the measurement of my reflex angle. So 360 subtract 130 equals 230 degrees. So this measurement is actually 230 degrees. So that's pretty much the easiest way to measure and find reflex angles. What I want you to do to practice is I just want you to practice drawing reflex angles and then measuring them. And I'm going to say for now, have north up when you're drawing them. It might just help you see how the angle goes around like the compass rose. That's the first indicators that we know that it goes around 360 degrees, kind of like a clock face. This would be 12 o'clock, and then it would go around. But this is how I like to always remember that it goes around 360 degrees, not just 180. So you can practice drawing your reflex angles by drawing a line that points towards the top of your paper, make a vertex and a separate ray, and then draw your semicircle. If you really want to get fancy, you can get out the tool inside your geometry set, which is called a compass. It's not this kind of compass, but it's the kind where you can put your pencil in, and you put the point on the vertex, and then you can draw a perfect semicircle. Unfortunately, I left my geometry set at school, and I only had a protractor at home, so I can't do that, which is upsetting. So I'm going to measure the inside measurement here, and I'm going to classify this first. Just looking at it, it's classified as acute, so I'm going to measure it as an acute angle. And it looks like it is just shy of 50 degrees, about 48 degrees on the inside here, which means I have to find the reflex angle. I have to find this outside, so I'm going to take 360, subtract 48, and I am going to get 5 minus 4. Oh, that's messy, sorry. Working in front of a camera is a lot harder. 5 minus 4 is 1, and then 3. So this measurement is actually 312 degrees. 312 degrees, and that's how you find a reflex angle, and that's how you draw them. You will find that not all of them are going to be facing north, but you can draw them however you want, as long as you have your semicircle towards the outside. You just measure them as you would a typical angle. Line it up, ray your vertex, classify first. This is an obtuse angle. Looking out here, it's about 126 on the inside, so I know that 360 subtract 126 equals 234 degrees. And that is also a reflex angle. Okay, so how you can practice by just drawing lines, putting in your semicircle, and then subtracting the difference. Find the difference between the inside angle and the outside angle, and the outside angle is going to be your reflex angle, and that's how you find the measurement. Okay, take care and good luck practicing. I'll also post a worksheet of just reflex angles if you want to practice ones that somebody else has drawn for you. Take care.